The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double doon. Don't back down, double doon.
Here we go. The Bhoycie bus, it rolls back in, it revs back in. It's Friday night, ladies and gentlemen. Don't back down, double doon. But what I've got to say is, I'm coming in a mess, going out in style. I ain't good looking, but I'm someone's child. No one can give me the air that's mine to breathe. Liam Gallagher is playing at Nebworth tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And for all you that aren't there, welcome aboard the Bhoycie bus. And what a pity it is we are not at Nebworth. But I am buzzing because the man who makes the Bhoycie bus t-shirts look cooler than I do, Ian Johnston, is with us. Welcome aboard the bus, Ian. How the devil
Hey, Bhoycie, how you doing, mate? How you doing?
I'm jamming, man. This is an honour, mate, to get you back on, mate. This is class because you've enjoyed the show. As a viewer, you're a consistent contributor in the comments. You rock the t-shirts. Santa Ponza last week, representing, mate, representing. But do you know what? It's great just to get normal Celtic fans on a platform they would never normally be on, and just to shoot the breeze a wee bit about the team that we love. Ian, that's what we're doing tonight. It's brilliant to have you on board. You good?
Aye, I'm fine, mate. I'm fine. Looking forward to it. A wee chat about Celtic. Obviously, there's not a lot happening in there, but we'll talk about whatever.
We always find a way, mate. We always find a way. I've got to be honest. I mean, I would have loved to have been at Nebworth tonight. Like, I mean, see the weather. The weather's just picked up dramatically today. You know, fine. Well, that's just going to happen. You know, I think folks celebrating the Jubilee, up to them. But if there's one place in England you want to be right now, it is Nebworth Park. Liam Gallagher headlining, 80,000 people tonight, 80,000 again tomorrow, doing new songs that are completely fresh, playing the Oasis classics. Hampden can't come quick enough for me now. I mean, I nearly wore.
Have you got tickets for Hampden, aye?
Oh, aye. I was nearly wearing these to do the whole show, mate. You know, I'm in the zone now, Ian. I think it's a moment in time happening right now in music. But the thing is with the Celtic, that bus never stops. Celtic is an also ever-evolving wheel. And whilst it seems like it's been a quiet week, Ian, Has it really? Well, I don't know. I would say in terms of talking points for a podcast, I was struggling. 100%. Last night we had the joy of having David Logue on. We do the TNF. We let the viewers bring up points they want to discuss. I'm going to offer that olive branch again tonight, because if there is anything we might be missing, I would like to actually discuss it, because talking points are few and far between right now. But what it means though, Ian, and this is where we start the show. Before we start though, like, subscribe. If you want to become a member, $1.99 a month, it's totally optional. It's not a forceful thing. No one's ramming it down your throat. There is a member option. You can hit the join button. If you want to just like the show though, it will get more passengers on the bus. If you want to hit subscribe, even better. Then you'll know every time the bus pulls up. Now, well, that's out the road, Ian. That's all out the road. See, that's the commercial shit, you know. And hopefully we'll have a new sponsor in the next couple of weeks. I am working hard. I'm reaching.
No more t-shirts. I'm getting any more money.
No, I'm thinking with the sponsorship, I've thought outside the box. I have thought outside the box. The people have approached. I mean, I sent an email to the Ian, right? And you know what, I've typed it up, and I've went all like, oh, hi there, you know, running a channel. I scrapped the whole email, Ian. Right? I scrapped all of it. Write it as who you are, Bhoycie. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they're only going to be disappointed once they sponsor a fake. You know what I mean? So I sent an email off to a company today I think would work. Oh, I think it'd be a wonderful partnership on the bus. But it's maybe punching above our weight a wee bit, but I've tried. That is the thing. We are trying, because we want this to be the biggest bus.
Don't tell us who it is.
I can't yet. No, because see, if I did, they would be like,
No, I'm only joking. I mean? I'm only joking.
I would never, ever, ever, ever say. Do you know what I mean? I would never say.
Okay,
right?
No problem.
So, Ian, the thing is though with Celtic, it doesn't really, the stories never end really. The narrative changes. I feel a wee bit like there's almost a bit of mischief making going on in the media now. See when big CCV, The Rock at the back, and let's be honest, I think he is a crucial signing in the summer. He does any sort of comment in the media now, and it's true. Oh, well, that he's not quite saying he's signing for Celtic. He's just saying he's leaving Spurs. I think he spoke quite glowingly about Celtic. I'm convinced the two loan signings is a case of let them have their wee break. Neither of them are full international. Jota's not full international. Capricarpac's away in America. Let them come back. Cross the T's, dot the I's. I think they'll be done. Do you feel right now that in a summer of calm, it's almost that unusual to us as Celtic fans, Ian, that we're looking for drama where it doesn't exist?
I would imagine so, probably, because you're usually thinking that you've usually got qualifiers and things like that coming up pretty soon, which we've not got to deal with just now. And then obviously, there is things about players coming, players going, players coming, and all the rest of it. But as far as Jota and Carter Vickers is concerned, I mean, I think the two of them will come here. I don't see them no. Honestly don't see them no coming here. Especially Jota, as the way Jota behaved once we win the league and all that. I honestly think he'll come.
Yep, I agree with you. I think it's weird, because I think as supporters, right, we have been tuned in now to summers being a panicky season as a Celtic fan. This is meant to be panic season. The summer, how do we build the squad? Are we going to sign players to deal with the Champions League qualifiers? How are the team going to be fit for the first Champions League qualifier? Oh my God, we're going to Kazakhstan. All these sort of factors have all been removed by the boss. The boss Ian has went, do you know what? You gave me the worst, honestly, the worst deck of cards ever. in summer 2021. But here we are, summer 2022, 2022,
Aye.
2022.
2020.
We now go into that knowing our course. Do you remember he said something about, I don't think defeats or results like tonight will charter our progress as the season goes. He said something like that early on last season. I think our pathway now is chartered, that Andrew was alluding to not having last year. It is chartered. We know where we're going, Ian. We know we're in the group stages of the Champions League. We know we've got competition to win this league, and big time competition, by the way. Whether we folk like to admit that or not, we do. We also know by having that group stage qualification what sort of money we can spend. We also know, thanks to 2 very successful transfer windows, how effective Ange Postecoglou can be with a couple of quid, let alone a few million. I think now we're in a situation that we're almost looking for reasons to be nervy, i.e. the CCV, the Jota situation, because we're not used to this state of calm. Ian, is it fair to say Celtic fans might be almost chasing, trauma where it really doesn't exist?
I think it probably is, but you also get that for the mainstream media as well. The mainstream media is always feeding stuff out there as well. So is it to make people think that there's a lot more going on, which is probably actually not really going on? I think there is work going on behind the scenes. Just now, I think there is players there that probably Ange has pinpointed and says, I want this one in, I want that one in, and they're actually looking at them at the moment. I might be wrong, but that's my feeling on it. But I think he knows who he wants in. He's got an idea who he wants in, but he also has an idea as who he wants out as well, which I think is going to be quite a few players as well, which we need to try and get rid of before we start bringing in fresh players as well. I
think that's a brilliant point you make there. I think you're right. This is going to be a window for me that is going to be quite ruthless. I think we're walking into this in a romantic phase right now where, we're all on board, we're all on sync. But we've seen the first digs to our emotional state being struck already. Tom Rogic is allowed to leave with a year left in his deal for fuck all. What? That's the guy who plays in slippers, Ian. That's the guy who's given us some of the most memorable moments over the last decade. Fact. Ange spoke about it on Australian radio the other night. He was saying, wow, do you know what he said? He said, very much like people over there don't know what we're doing. He was like, I don't think people in Australia know who Tommy Rogic is in Scotland. He went, mate, his video reel, he goes, is a joke. He's made the memories of this club that you wouldn't believe. He is a genuine legend.
Aye.
But yet, do you know what? See you later, mate. Neil Beaton, see you later, mate. I think there's ruthlessness in it. This is business, mate. I think you're right. As much as we're all looking very, very much excited about who Celtic could potentially bring in, there's going to be some departures as well, Ian. And I think it's all positive. I think we're now in phase 2 of the Ange evolution. We have to be on board with this, Ian. But you mentioned there, you think players might depart. Have you any in mind? And we don't want, again, as I always say to everyone, this isn't about us savaging anyone or anything like that. This is about Celtic as a football club progressing, which I don't think, as I've said many a times, there's so many examples you can look at over since the turn of the millennium. We've won 16 out of 21 league titles. Have we really progressed though during that time? As you would expect, no. I'm afraid not. So this time around, I think we've got a progressive manager in there. So with that in mind, now we can't predict the players he's going to sign. And just proven that is literally the most impossible gig you could ever do. Mystic Meg's like, I'll retire. I'm retiring. I'm not going to try and predict who Ange Postecoglou signs next. But players who could depart Celtic for the benefit of the club, not with any necessary evil in it or nastiness, just could you see leaving Celtic Football Club to help the Ange Phase 2 evolution continue?
well, the initial first two is obviously Barkas and Ajeti. That's your first two that would go. Who's no played anything. So to a point, Sorrow as well. Sorrow has not done anything. Mikey Johnston. I like Mikey Johnston to a certain extent. To a certain extent, I like Mikey Johnston. Maybe a wee loan season for him or whatever, but might do him good rather than actually sell him off. Trying to think who else there is.
Well,
they four initially anyway.
Well, Ian, let's have a wee dive into that. Ajeti, Barkas, high earners, underperformers. They've actually earned an extra 12 months crust off Celtic that really has been a bit of a pity, because I would guess you leave West Ham United if you're at Ajeti to come to Scotland for a minimum £20,000 a week. I'm going to throw that figure out there. We don't do ITK, as you know, Ian. We don't kid on my best pals with John Mackay on the text. But we can speculate, because I think that's what all fans down the pub do. And I would speculate Ajeti doesn't leave a long-term contract at West Ham unless there was a big signing off fee from them, as well as a healthy contract to join Celtic for. Now, for me, I think ballpark would be 20,000 a week.
I would imagine so, aye.
So 20 grand a week equates, Ian, to £1 million a year. So Ajeti has cost us an extra $1 million. It's just been Champions League experience and cost circa £5 million, Ian. Now, if you cost $5 million, the law of averages tell you he's a minimum 15 grand to 20 grand a week as well.
Oh, that's what.
There's another 800 to $1 million a year. So when we look at these players and we think they're going to depart, is it on Celtic to release them with a wee handshake, or do we still search for a fee? This becomes the quandary, because my deep down belief is last summer we probably touted these guys, Ian, to every club we possibly could and failed to get a reply. This summer, if there's no golden handshake, it's just a terminate the contract, do you think that's acceptable? I know it means £10 million in transfer fees. It means a combined £3 to $3.5 million in wages with zero recoup. But is it the situation now where that may force them out the door?
I think we're getting to that point now, because if nobody's going to come in for them, and let's face it, I don't think anybody is, especially Ajeti. I mean, Ajeti's with his injuries and the rest of it, it's obviously nobody's going to come in for him. So I think, especially with him, you've got to say, right, it's time to cut your losses and time to just go, offer him out. Barkas, I don't know. You're talking about an international goalkeeper. It just seems strange that he's very hard, that nobody seems to be interested in coming in for him. I don't know why we bought him in the first place, because I don't think he's that good. Judging by what I've seen him, I may be being a wee bit unfair, but judging by what I've seen him, I don't think he's that great a goalkeeper. But I just find it strange to get an international goalkeeper there that no other clubs particularly interested in him. So honestly, don't know. I don't know. But I think if it comes to it and no other club comes in for any of them, then I think it's time to cut our losses and just say, let's take them off a wage bill and move on to somebody else.
Ian, I think I agree with it. I find it tragic, though, that's where we're meeting in an argument right now. We're actually agreeing on we're going to cut our losses on 10 million quid's worth of just two players. Celtic don't operate in that environment, you know. They really don't. If we invest 10 million in two players, both of them have to be a hit, let alone zero of them. And then cutting your losses, no recouping fees. However, I do actually agree. it's time they're offloaded off the wage bill. Now, the other two you mentioned was Mikey Johnston
Sorrow.
and Ismail Assoro. So I'm going to add one more to that. It's Chris Julian. We're now going to talk
Julian,
about
aye,
these guys.
Julian, aye.
Yeah, but
I
this is
forgot
good.
about
This is
Julian.
good. This is good. This is good. This is what we want to do, though. We want to talk about these sort of players, and I would call it Celtic players in limbo. And I think there's a few of these guys, Ian, in limbo. Mikey Johnston, for me, has been in limbo for 4 years. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Aye,
Neil
I was the
Lennon
same.
incredibly began to look like the prick. At first, he was heralded for that straight-talking approach. Remember the F off? When
Aye.
Mikey Johnston came on for 5 minutes. I actually think Lennon was right. I know that's unpopular now. Oh, you can't speak to players like that. I'm sorry. Neil Lennon's trusted this guy. You are back. Yeah?
Aye.
You're 100% ready to go. You're warmed up. You've done everything right to go in the park. Within 4 or 5 minutes, he's off. Back with the same injury. I think Neil Lennon was right. And yet, at the time, it was seen as healthy because Celtic were winning. Then, at hindsight, it was seen as, well, how's Mikey Johnston's career going to progress with guys like Neil Lennon telling him to F off? And I'm like, that's just funny how you can spin it like that, you know?
Aye.
For me, Mikey Johnston's had chance after chance. I think his career would be best served at St Mirren, an Aberdeen, a Hibs, something
Aye.
that's not total cannon fodder, but a team that's like wanting to be striving to be top 6 next year. And if that means Celtic actually release him, just stick a wee 10%, 20% add-on fee, like we do when we sell big guys for big bucks. And maybe just take the hit initially and go, do you know what, Mikey Johnston goes for free, but if you sell him, we get 10, 20%. There you go. So there you're still kind of covering your asset. Because let's be honest, you're not going to sell Mikey Johnston for £1 million to a Notts County or anything like that now. You know, he's not done enough. He's not, and he's 22, 23.
Aye, it's strange, but because I was reading the interview that Lewis Morgan did. Lewis Morgan, he went to Inter Miami. I think he's with New York City now. And that's what he says. He says if he'd been given a longer chance at Celtic, he thinks he would possibly have done something. He just wasn't given the chance. And now he's actually, I think he's playing actually not too bad down in America. So, I mean, there's a possibility there for Mikey Johnston as well. Could go to America, Lewis Morgan did. Lewis Morgan was another one that was, when he came in, we thought he was going to be a great player and all the rest of it. And he went to America, and he's doing actually quite good over there.
I don't know.
Mikey
I mean,
Johnston.
I don't know what size of football they use in America, but I always felt like the ball looked a wee bit too big for Lewis Morgan. If I'm honest, I'm like, is that different? Is that a size 5 they're using over there? The ball was like massive when he was. It's like he was dribbling a fucking, I don't know,
A beach ball.
You know what I mean? Aye, he looked, to me, he could come up with excuses 3 years after the event. You had your chance, you didn't pass the grade, mate, you know. But I do get what you mean. So don't get bitten twice. Ensure that Mikey Johnston, we do let move on to passers new. Stick a 20% sell on. Have him for free.
Aye.
If you do well with him, we'll reap the benefits when you sell them on. Because, for example, you look at Hibs, you think there's no money in Scotland. Hibs sold that Mark Boyle for £3 million in January. Scott McKenna left Aberdeen only 18 months ago for £3.5, £4 million. You know, to make sure they get the clause in these sort of guys, you know, and that to me, that would make sense. But we get to interesting ones like Chris Julian, Ian. Chris Julian is our record spend on a defender, £7 million. Now, a good friend of mine, Robin Berner, growing up, I wouldn't say a good friend now, not because he's sound as fuck, but we just, life splits you up, as you know. But he's a Goal.com journalist who specialises in French football. Now, Robin, I knew as an 11-year-old just playing football with him, man, do you know what I mean? Like, so the fact he's now specialising in Ligue 1 for Goal.com, he's got about 40,000 subscribers on Twitter. I directly went to him, and this is way before I did podcasts or anything. I was just curious. and I asked him about Julian. And he's got no Celtic filter, mate. He just tells the truth. You know, and he goes, Bhoycie, £7 million. Do you know how much Celtic are paying for this guy? He's got 1 year left in his deal at Toulouse. See, if he didn't have 1 year left, he'd be 15, 20 million. He went, this guy will do all. He goes, he will do all right in the SPL. He goes, I'm shocked. Celtic seem to have. I think he used the term like something like a clear pathway to get him. And I was like, all right. He goes, mate. He goes, 1 year left, 7 million. He was like, I think Julian will do just fine at Celtic. I think Julian has split the fan base, Ian.
Aye.
I'm firmly on the camp. He's top. I think he's brilliant. I don't think he's the biggest wimp in the world either that he's made out to be. I think a couple of episodes against Lyndon Dykes on a pitch that really guys that cost £7 million aren't used to playing on. Let's be completely frank about it. In a league where the rules seem to be bending left, right and centre to football for the 1980s, 70s, I think Chris Julian was kind of taken aback by that. I've watched him play with a headband on. I've watched him tower above Lazio defenders, scoring great goals. I've watched him in the Europa League being our best player. Not in one match, a few matches, he was a tower at the back. But yet, the spaghetti head seems to have defined our French defender. And it does seem to me, Ian, that firstly, Ange doesn't fancy him. And secondly, there won't be much love lost from the fan base on Chris Julian leaving on a freebie. I find it hard to fathom the whole thing, to be honest with you. Where did it go wrong for Chris Julian in your book?
Honestly, don't know, because up until he got the injury, I thought he was a good player. He was a good player, and he scored a lot of vital goals for us. That one in the League Cup final, but beat Rangers. And then he got the injury, and when he came back for that, Ange came in, and it's just been a case of it's as if I don't know who does if Ange doesn't fancy the way he's working, if Julian can't play the way Ange wants him to play. It just seems, because if Julian's coming out and he's saying that he's went to the manager and he says, I'm fit, give me 90 minutes, and then he's still even getting a chance. I think he came on for about 20 minutes against Straith Rovers or something, and then he played in a reserve game, which he came off it as well. And I think that's the only kind of actual football he's played since he came back from his injury. For some reason.
But Ian, see, to me, Ange is all about players, right? He wants guys to play football. I always felt Julian, okay, you can slag his physicality, but I watched him, he's a bit of a baller as well, no? I mean, if you were to pass a ball 10 yards with a bit of zip on a soaking pitch, not a plastic pitch, it's spaghetti head, on a slick Celtic Park surface, and you were to zip one into the feet of Starfelt or Julian, who's going to have the better touch?
Oh, I know. But the thing is, as well, I mean, as Ange always says, he doesn't just look at what the player can do on the park. He looks at what the attitude of the player is, and he looks at the way the player as an actual person is, as a human being is. So maybe he's looking at Julian and thinking he's not got the attitude, not just on the park, but off the park as well.
I find that
as we've always said, I mean, it's like, right, on you go.
On you go. No, on you go, mate.
Right, no, I've always said, and people have said it before, the attitude of the French players that have come into Celtic, Julian, Deschamps, Edouard, when they were wanting to go, it was just a case of, we've down tools. And it ended up, there was a wee clique. Well, so we were told. Rumours were there was a wee clique, and it was the French ones that had all down tools because they weren't interested anymore. And the stories that came out was, that's the French attitude. If you're not interested, if you're not going to get a game, if the manager doesn't want you, then we're just not going to bother. We're just going to down tools, and then that's it. So I don't know. Is it maybe just a case of that with Julian? Who knows? But if he's saying he's went to the manager and says, I want to play 90 minutes, give me the chance. Ange, who's straight talking, no bullshit, has went, nah, you've not got the attitude for me. Possibly.
I think Ange is playing a different game with Julian than he would with other players. I'll be honest. I think Ange has looked at the wage bill. I think he's looked at the structure. I don't know him as well. We've done all right without him. He earns too much. Can you hear me all right, by the way?
Aye.
Aye, sound. I've just got a feeling, for some strange reason, Julian doesn't fit Angie's. I don't know. It can't be the attitude I've never held in question with Julian. That is the honest truth. Like Ensham, you could see it a mile away when he wasn't getting his game and that. Edward, huffy as fuck. We've seen all this. Julian looked like it mattered to him. I find it hard to understand.
That's what we are seeing in public, but you don't know what's happening behind the scenes.
Of course, you're absolutely right. The speculation side of it, 100% I agree with. However, what I would also say is a £7 million defender like Chris Julian, with, for me, plenty credit in the bank over his time at Celtic, unlike, no offence to Stephen Welsh, but I think he's ahead of him in the pecking order. Why on earth, when he's came back for such a long injury, would you not be testing the water with him a wee bit more? And I think Julien's played into Angie's hands, I would say, by doing that interview with the French media.
Aye.
I think Ange just went, fucking knew you'd do that. But I also think there was a point to what Julien was saying. It's like, you know, your own Twitter feed, the club's social media feed, did like a promotional sort of tweet and image of me being back. And you've never even even bled me in the team in the slightest. Yet, let's play devil's advocate here, Ian. If Starfelt or Cameron Carter-Vickers in the second half of the season, either of them picked up a serious injury, I would rather it was Julian before Stephen Welsh. That is my opinion on that.
Totally
and
agree.
To not have him up to scratch, it feels almost like there's something about the Julian deal at Celtic Ange doesn't think fits with the ethos. My guess is he's on too high a wage for what Ange wants the rest of the team on that he maybe counts higher on. So let's speculate again. Let's say Julian, if he costs £7 million, you don't leave Ligue 1 for 15 grand a week. Maybe Julien's the second or top earner at Celtic, and Ange is like, well, that doesn't quite go with the other guys in the squad, you know. I wonder.
Do you think Ange would be bothered about what players are earning? But do you think he's actually interested in that side? He's just watching guys in training. He's watching their attitude, and if their attitude isn't right, they're not playing. He's not interested if Julian's on £15,000-20,000 a week or whatever, or Stephen Welsh is on £10,000 a week. He's looking at the attitude of their players in training and saying, he's not got the attitude, I don't want him in my team.
Ian, first guy ever on the Double Doon Show to push back on a point I made like that. I love that. That is exactly where I want the podcast to go. This is exactly why this podcast will get better. When people challenge my point of view on it. I get it. I get where you're coming from, and I get your reasons behind it. But however, I've also got to push back and say, well, hold on. Ange Postecoglou gave Bolly Bolingoli 2 starts in a Celtic jersey. All right? Whether we like it or not.
He gave a Jetty the captain's armband at one of the games.
Yeah, in pre-season.
He came on. Aye.
He brought Bolingoli in mid-season, not like mid-season, but I mean, after 3-4 games, we played Livingston at the Spaghetti Head. You know, because Julian, of course, is terrible. But Bolingoli comes out of the cold and randomly is in the starting lineup. I believe that was Ange assessing his options. And he was working out who you know, Bolingoli's attitude comes up to far more criticism, in my opinion, as a Celtic player than what Chris Julian's ever has. What Bolingoli did, 18 months ago, whatever it was, absolutely calls into question their mindset, their mentality, and their attitude towards us as a club, and also his professionalism. I've not seen an example of that of Julian. I've seen a guy injured.
Mm-hmm.
I've also seen a guy almost targeted because apparently he was the guy who brought the COVID back from Dubai. Hardly
That's
his
right.
fault if he's
Supposedly,
told to.
aye.
But if
That
you're
that was
told
a
to
rumour,
go-
aye.
Like, that's, again, how that's on him, I'll never know. That is on the powers above.
Why even went to Dubai in the first place is questionable.
Well, I agree with that, but I don't think that's Julian's call. If your boss tells you you're going to Dubai,
No, I'm not saying it was Julian's call. It's why that's what I'm questioning. I'm questioning the manager at the time why he even took Julian to Dubai.
It was weird.
Aye.
Again,
Aye.
another strange decision that Julian seems to have become foul of. Like, that's all on him. But what I would say is, see if Andrew Postecoglou at the start of the season, and an incredible season overall, he rolled the dice twice with Bolingoli. He's never even offered to roll the dice with our £7 million centre-half back from injury. The reason he's out the team is because he was injured. That to me tells me there's more to it than just the ability thing. Because your eyes don't lie, Ian.
Aye.
Chris Julian, to me, I don't know, could, at the very least, let's be harmonious here, right? Let's just, he could at least challenge Carl Starfelt for that jersey. Let's say that.
Aye. Oh, I would say so. And now you've got the possibility, well, I know Starfelt got took off the other night, his international game, so you're like that, well, if there's a long-term injury, hopefully it will only be a long-term injury, but you've got the point where if it is a long-term injury, regardless of that, you've got also the point is Carter Vickers going to sign? So at the end of the day, either way, you could end up with only one central defender for our central defence that was there for that season. Whether it's Starfelt's out injured or Carter Vickers, Disney stays, Carter Vickers moves on. So then you've got to start looking at bringing in another central defender. And if Julian Disney stay, so what then do you do now? Do you keep Julian? If Ange doesn't fancy him, do you let him go and then bring somebody else in and then start building a brand new defence again for the start of the season where you've got European Championship games? It's a strange one. Hopefully Carter Vickers will stay. Hopefully Starfelt's injury won't be too bad and we keep the two central defenders that we've got in the first place. But at the same time, injury, somebody getting sent off, you've got to have somebody there. You can't rely on Stephen Welsh. Much as Stephen Welsh has come in and done a good job for us, you can't rely on him 100%. So you've got to possibly look to, like say, Julian. Julian isn't going to be there. You need to try and bring somebody in, and you would need to bring somebody in soon to bed them in, to get them ready for the European Championship games and the start of the new season. Either way, if Carter Vickers or Starfelt isn't there, well, Starfelt will be there, but whether he's injured, whether Carter Vickers moves on. So we need to bring somebody else in. We need to look at the Julian situation. I honestly don't know. I'd like to see Julian stay. He's no been a bad defender for us.
I don't think so.
Long term,
really don't.
Long term, he's not been bad, and I just find it strange. I can't get my head around the fact that how he doesn't get a game. But at the end of the day, Ange, who we all put our faith in, watches him every day in training, and he must be like that. Well, there's obviously something. Whether it's, I don't think it's financial. It's obviously, I don't know. It's something there that he doesn't fancy.
There's some button, right, that Ange is looking at Julian, and Ange wants his buttons pushed, and the rest of these guys push his buttons, and there's a button missing with Julian that Julian's pushing maybe some of the buttons. There's one button missing that Julian's not. I struggle to see it. I generally think Julian would have been, if he'd been fully fit when Ange took over, I'd have went, he'll be loving life under this guy. Julian's probably looking, confused at Neil Lennon at times. It would strike me like Julien would be one of the guys going, a progressive manager who wants to play football and wants to coach you. Perfect for me. I did my best under the rambling idiot. Yeah, it seems like this is a Neil Lennon guy, and not. I don't know. I find it really mind-boggling, and I'm still not. Even despite everything you've said, Ian, I think you're the same as me. Where is the bottom of this? Why is the Chris Julian situation still so up in the air? Firstly, he's not out of contract. He's got another year to go.
No.
Can Celtic afford to let £7 million signings get released a year early? That's not good business practice.
No.
Secondly, if Cameron Carter-Vickers isn't signed permanently yet, Starfelt's injured, are we really going to League Match 1 with Welsh and Dane Murray again?
Aye, that's
These
it,
are the
exactly.
questions.
Aye.
So that
You've not even get beat on anymore.
So it leads you to an interesting point. And I think this is good that we discuss this, because I think defence, we were told at the start of Angie's reign, Ian, that defence isn't part of his strategy. Oh, he doesn't care. You know what? I find that insulting to Postecoglou. I was insulted at the time when folk were saying it, because I was like, well, he'll need to start thinking about defence. But actually now the more you get to know him, you go, do you know what? You were just talking shite. You know, like that Dan idiot in Australia, you'd rather draw 4-4 than win 1-0. These are facts. He said that on Celtic platforms. Facts. He can act smart arse now and say, oh, I told you so. No, he didn't. He told us he would rather draw 4-4. Actually turns out Ange wants to be pragmatic. Ian, Ange wants Celtic to win football matches. Hallelujah. That's what all we wanted at the start as well. However, let's get to it. How do you win football matches? We've got the best defensive record in Scotland. No Cameron Carter-Vickers signed as of yet. Chris Julian on the way out. Starfelt injured. Do we need one or two centre-backs? And I want you to play devil's advocate on this one. Even if Cameron Carter-Vickers signs permanently, what further implementing would you do to our defence? Because Celtic, at the end of the day, I know everyone's in love with the squad, and it's a beautiful squad, handsome bastards. It's not a Champions League squad, Ian, is it?
No, definitely no. Defensively, we still need another centre-back. Whether Carter-Vickers signs or not, we still need another centre-back.
I think so.
A European Championship side, no, there's still a few, 3 or 4 places that still need strengthened, I think. Goalkeeper, another centre-back, possibly another sitting midfielder, and possibly another centre-forward as well.
It's interesting though, because I think the defence side, and I know there's comments like David Ferguson, and brilliant to have you on the bus, by the way, my man. One of 88 people watching live right now. Close season. We are doing not bad on this bus. There is a like button. Hit subscribe. If you want to become a member like Ian Johnston has, it's $1.99 a month. I'm not begging for it. It's optional. But it does make the channel become self-sustainable, which is kind of the goal I've got with all this, Ian. I'm happy to do 20 to 25 shows a month, but I want it to be not that I'm paying to do that. Do you know what I mean? That would be almost insanity eventually. But again, the content will always be free. That's the key. But anyway, David Ferguson, why are we worried about Starfelt's injury? It's months till the start of the season. But David, I kind of get this. What I'm trying to say is, Starfelt could get injured on day 1 of pre-season. He could get injured day 1 of the league season. What are our fallback options we're going to have? If Cameron Carter-Vickers signs, I'm in complete agreement with Ian. I would say, if you're the Celtic board, you go, right, Ange, you've got a £6 million centre-half in CCV. You've got a £4.5 million Swedish international centre-half. If one of them drops out, you've got a youth product now with 30 to 40 professional appearances in Stephen Welsh. But if I'm Ange, I push back on that and I say no, because Stephen Welsh, but And by the way, honest pro, and he's learning his trade. But you want someone to push Starfelt, push CCV. And if Julian ain't that guy, that's on the manager. To me, I think he's more than capable of pushing them. But he sees them day in, day out, as you're saying, Ian. It's hard to argue with
Aye.
that. But clearly Julian ain't that guy. That to me means we have to. We have to be focusing right now on a centre half, another one who comes in, and they have to be a talker. Because Starfelt ain't a talker. I think Starfelt came into his own the second half of the season, Ian. But that is purely by strictly defending. I defend. Head ball, tackle ball. He wasn't dictating how that defence lined up. Joe Hart did a lot of that work, but Cameron Carter-Vickers does a lot of vocals, mate. We need to accept, even if Cameron Carter-Vickers signs, I think another 4 to 6 million. Not because it has to be that money, but I'm thinking that ilk of player. I'd have 3 proper centre halves competing for 2 jerseys. Do you agree with that, Ian?
Aye, I think so. I think that's kind of what you need for that area of the field anyway. How many we need to bring in? Obviously, we need to wait and see what happens with Carter-Vickers, and then then wait and see what happens with Julian. But I honestly think there's probably at least another 2. Whether it's Carter-Vickers and any other, or Carter-Vickers and Julian, then we just need to wait and see.
Aye, I think that as well. Now, obviously, there's another area of the park we've got a loan signing, Ian. He's dazzled. He's entertained. He's as good looking as George Michael. He's not over the line yet either. But we've actually got a front line now, and I don't whittle that down to any specific number, but we've got Chaos up top. We've got literally the Duracell Bunny in Danger Maida, if you like, playing. We've got Kyogo, the most lovable Celtic player you can ever imagine, who's also cold-hearted winner. He's just 20 goals he got last season with 3 months out. My player of the year, by the way.
Aye.
On top of that, we've got a James Forrest, the guy with medals falling out the back of his shorts every time he comes off the bench. There's a medal falling behind him, because he's won that many trophies. He's on a new 3-year deal. We've got guys like Ian Johnston we were referring to. We've got the young players player of the year, Leo Labada. We've got Jota. What happens if Jota doesn't sign? Now, we've listed a front line there, which, by the way, I think will be added to with another centre forward. And I mean a number 9. I believe another number 9 will join in the summer. They'll not take Chaos's jersey, by the way. That I can categorically guarantee you. But someone who compete with Giakoumakis, it only makes Giakoumakis better. But if we're not to get Jota, that area seems pretty well covered. Why is there such a desperation from the fan base to have the Jota deal arranged, where really, as I said to you before, Ange is the most relaxed man in Europe right now? Why aren't we? I think the Jota deal's done. Why has everyone got their knickers in a twist? Even if it's not done, I look at the options we've got and go, even if we weren't to replace the Jota signing, fucking hell, we've got a lot of options there, Ian, mate.
Oh, I totally agree, but obviously you want a player like of Jota's calibre to want to come to Celtic, then that's the reason why you want to keep him, whatever the cost. I know we've got an abundance of players that can play in that position. I mean, you can even stick Kyogo out there if it comes to it. That's not his best position. I know that's the way that they've said that Kyogo played sometimes out in the left and worked his way into the middle. But if you've got a player like Jota, you want to keep Jota for at least another 1 or 2 seasons anyway, and you'd make a fair bit of money on him.
Aye.
which
By
would
the way,
eventually happen.
whatever month he's on the calendar, even I wouldn't be turning that month over, Ian. I swear to God. I might not swing that way, but big shot. You know what I mean? He's. Do you know? Do you know what I think was very, very insightful with the two loan signings? The two loan signings of the two last guys to score in the league against Rangers.
Aye, that's right. I know. Aye, so was
Lucas
aye.
Ibrox, Jota at Celtic Park.
Jota, aye, that's right.
Look at the reaction.
Aye,
Is that two
I
guys
know.
on loan, or is that two bona fide Celtic players that were just waiting?
Well, it's like I says, just look at Jota's the way he was reacting when we won the league, when we're doing the going around the park. You seen the way Jota was reacting. That's a player that I think was loving where he was at that moment. And a player
I
that
believe
wants to.
with Cameron Carter-Vickers though too. At Ibrox, he's running
Possibly.
away grabbing the jersey, mate. I think the
Aye.
two of them, I think we're just waiting for the transfer window to open, and we're waiting for some sort of news to come from across the city that we can just double down on.
Aye.
That's what
I actually thought
I
thought they'd have mentioned it at the Europa League final. I thought there'd have been something come out there to kind of take the shine away a wee bit. But obviously it didn't happen that way.
But wait now. Yeah, our sources tell me the transfer window isn't actually open yet. It's next Friday.
Right.
So I think, like I was saying at the top of the show, Ian, I think it's frightening how, because it's the summer of calm, which we've all strived for years, by the way, we try to complicate it. We're like, because it's just in our nature, we're trying to complicate. It's perfect that it's calm. We're just, these deals will happen when they happen. I'm in no doubt we get both. I think both are signing for Celtic. I am convinced. And Chunks in my chunks comes in, Ian. And do you know what? The big man for once has got a point. Only 41 likes, but there's 98 watching live now, Ian. Ian Johnston is on his first ever Celtic podcast, because what we do on the Double Doon Show is we bring folk on that are normal Celtic fans, never spoke Celtic on a platform like this in their life, and guess what? They know more, or at least just as much as any of these kid-on podcasters. Never fall for that bullshit. Celtic fans, people buy for people. The Bhoycie bus rolls because we don't pretend to be ITK, or any other three initials you can think of. We don't kid on to be like that. Ian Johnston's came on just giving honest opinion. And do you know what? It's worked. And that's been nearly an hour, Ian. But the thing is, mate, I need to throw a spanner in the works, pal. And I've got on with you so well tonight.
I know, and I've only had one can.
But sometimes it's time not to once, but to double down, mate. And you're going to have to double down, mate. It's time to do the quiz. Ladies and gentlemen, we've not done it. We've not done it in 2 weeks. I didn't have the balls to ask Tony from Four Tims to do the quiz. I don't know what that says about me. Probably, what an absolute coward. I think Tony didn't know what he was getting himself into. He actually messaged me after it going, "That live chat's pretty busy, Bhoycie, eh? Well done, mate." And I'm like, mate, it's like that every single show we do. The live chat is because we integrate all the fans. This is what I want. I don't mean fans as in like Bhoycie bus fans. I mean Celtic fans. We just get everyone involved, Ian. You know what I mean? I think it's quality that we do that. So we will double. We are going to double down it, mate. You know the score. There's a lot of people out there who think they don't know how the Double Doon Show quiz works. As always, the clock is sponsored by Microsoft Windows. There are some rules, Ian. Is he gone? Ian! Well, ladies and gentlemen, he seems to have left the stream. That Oh, he's come back. He's coming back.
I am back.
Hey!
I didn't run
Mickey,
away,
did he?
honestly. I didn't run away.
Big Houdini. I'm sure Martin O'Neill tried to put him on trial.
I don't know what
Eh.
I don't know what happened there. I hit a button and it just disappeared.
Mate, that was quality. I was like, fair play. He's took me to school. That is a veteran at work. That was
No, honestly, I didn't know what I'd done. It just went. It was gone.
That was good. But Ian, we're going to go very quickly through the rules because do you know what we get? We get new viewers every week, mate. And this is the Double Doon quiz. So you've got 3 lifelines. Now, Phil McGinley was the last person to host the Double Doon quiz. And I was the contestant. And he had to prompt me to use the Double Doon feature. So I do like to remind you, Double Doon, on whatever question you decide, make sure you shout out Double Doon because you get double the points, right?
Right.
It is important. If you want to flip it, I have a spare question in the bank that isn't necessarily as difficult as the question you're being asked. So always remember you can use that. Back down, well, I just wanted to put back down in because we say don't back down, double down, as your green t-shirt shows. It's pretty pointless if I'm honest. Right? Remember as well, the quicker you answer the questions, if you answer within under a minute, you get 50 points. If it's between 1 and 2 minutes, it's 40 points. Between 2 and 3 minutes, you drop down to just 20 points. And that's as bad as I was last week. You'll end up doing that. My pen is ready to start scoring. Ian, at Green and White, or Ian Johnston as I like to call you, ready to play the Double Doon quiz,
Okay,
mate?
I'm
Let's
ready.
have it.
Go for it.
Oh, right, mate. I'm just trying to get the quiz up. Oh, there she is. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're away. Which Celtic fullback was left out of the squad for Wednesday's game versus Ukraine?
Greg Taylor.
Question 2. Which Celtic player limped off for Sweden the other night?
Starfelt.
Question number 3. Which ex-Celt was in goals and Eduard Panenka a penalty against Hearts?
Craig Gordon.
Question number 4. What club was Henri Camara signed on loan from when he joined Martin O'Neill's Celtic in 2004?
Oh, fuck, I can't remember.
That was tricky. Take a guess.
Flip
Chicken
it.
egg.
Flip it.
Oh! Genius. What nationality was Dimitri Karin?
Oh, fuck, I don't know.
Take a guess.
African, I don't know. I don't know. African, I don't know.
Question number 5. What squad number did Darren O'Day wear?
25.
Oh, I think you were closer with your first guess.
Was that? Oh, fuck.
What club did Celtic sign Massimo Donati from?
Don't know. I can't remember.
Think big. Think of a big club.
Juventus.
You bastard. You're wrong. Oh, Ian. Ian. It is tough though, eh?
Aye. Tell me about it.
It is tough though. On the car, I promise you. Like,
E-
I wanted to
Even though I'm
punch-
sitting
I
here
wanted
myself, it's still nerve-wracking.
I-
Even though I'm sitting here myself, it's still nerve-wracking.
I wanted to punch Phil McGinley's head in 2 weeks ago, and I love Phil. Phil's probably my favourite person in the world right now. And I promise you, I was like, see, you've done that deliberately. We're going to go through the question. I think you're going to hit yourself a wee bit, if I'm honest.
Right.
Right? Celtic fullback left out of the Scotland squad.
Oh, fuck. Tony Ralston.
Correct. Tony Ralston, mate. So 0 there.
Do you know what I read? Left fullback. That's the way I read that there.
Oh,
That's why I went Greg
get
Taylor.
That. No, I get that. I get why you've read it like that. Celtic player limped off. Correct. Big Starfelt. There's 10 points on the board. Which ex-Celt was in goals? You answered this very quickly. This is when you're trying to get the head of steam. Craig Gordon, you were correct. So up to 20, which means 30 in total. Now, this was, see, to be fair, I think this is a tricky question for on Double Doon standards. Wolves.
Oh, so it was.
It was.
That's
Do you
right.
remember now? Because he was giving them the 7 jersey and everything. On
That's
the
right.
Manuel O'Neill must have been going, yeah, I'm replacing Larson here. Like, you give him the 7 jersey all you want, but
That's right.
a loan signing, he was brought on loan. He was Senegalese international. What number did Darren O'Day wear? Now, I've got to be honest. I went on a 2-hour dog walk today with my young brother Jonathan. As you know, he does the Monday Club. Top lad. So I asked him for his suggestion for squad number. I went, just give me one, just pick a player. And he went, Darren O'Day. I went, number 48.
42. 48.
48, but you went to say 40, son.
I was going to say 42.
You went 25. And I was like, oh, you'd have been closer. But anyway,
That
one. It is a difficult one, that. This one, I'm a wee bit, I guess, gettable. For 50, AC Milan, mate.
Oh, fuck, so it was.
Mate, he cost AC Milan £10 million. He was the most capped Italian under-21 international of all time.
Aye.
Joined and Milan signed him for 10 million. We got him for 3. That one I thought was a gettable 50-pointer, but you didn't. So you end up, because you got the within 1 to 2, 70 points in. But don't worry, John.
That's good, isn't it?
Mate, honestly, John Tomlinson runs Endless Celts Pod, who we are going toe to toe with on a question of sport format, by the way, in the next couple of weeks. Home and away leg, it's going to go, that will go viral, it'll be brilliant. But John Tomlinson, who represents him, he came on and got about 35 points, 40 points or something. I wouldn't worry about it, mate. Ian, your contribution though tonight has been sensational. You know how to talk Celtic, and that was all I asked for. Now, I'm going to play Chris Sutton and some music. What I ask of every guest is if you stay on the camera, we'll get a wee beer and a wee catch up afterwards. Is that alright with you?
No bother, mate. Aye. Not a problem.
Would you recommend to everyone?
Oh, definitely. Aye.
Double Doon Show, do it.
Aye, definitely go on and do it. I've enjoyed it. It's a bit nervous, but I've enjoyed it.
What can I say? Ian Johnston, superstar Celtic fan, just like every single one of you is. And if you are lucky enough to be at Nebworth instead of watching the Bhoycie Buds, which I know you'd normally be doing, enjoy yourself. Rock and roll star, every single one of you. Good night.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.